Chair recognizes the young lady from Michigan, Ms. Slotkin.
Best state in the union, Michigan. Thanks for being here. And he's departed the room, but I just wanted to appreciate John Katko, my friend who is departing this committee, and the tone he has set in this committee. And it is my fervent hope that as the other side of the aisle seems poised to take over, that we keep this focused on homeland threats and not making this a place of political theater. That is my desperate hope, and I think that is the message that was sent by the voters last week. I hope they hear it and continue in that spirit. Secondly, I just want to talk a little bit about the threats that you've all talked about today, whether it's domestic terrorism and homegrown threats, the threats coming through our border, cybersecurity, and the threats of ransomware, information and disinformation coming from places like Russia and China. What has really struck me is how the threats that are most prominent for Americans today are really affecting civilians. They're not going after law enforcement agents. They're not going after our military. They're going after civilians in our K through 12 schools, in our hospitals, through our water treatment plants. The threats are much more personal, and they're much more sort of for the average American. And they desperately want to know what we are doing to protect them. Now, I was in the CIA and the Pentagon for many, many years, and we are all have to be careful not to fight the previous war and to make sure that we're adapting to today's threats, particularly on cyber. I am worried that we've had, as we remember in 9/11, we had the attacks in Kenya, we had the attacks on the USS Cole, and then we had 9/11. And I feel like on our cyber attacks, we have had our USS Cole. We've had the Colonial Pipeline, we've had our meat processing facility, we've had solar winds. So we all thought about what would we have done if we could have imagined the threat of 9/11? What would we have done to better prepare? So Secretary Mayorkas, please tell me the 2 or 3 things that you wish you could do. Either you need the resources or you need the attention of the American people to prevent a cyber 9/11.
Congresswoman, in my opening remarks, I talked about the threat landscape and how, in fact, the goal of our adversaries is indeed to disrupt our way of life, and I think you captured that very well in your opening remarks. We have done a great deal to enhance the security of the cyber ecosystem, and when I say we, it's not just the department, but of course working very closely with our partners. And that is, number one, to equip the private sector with information and to educate them on the tools to advance cyber hygiene. And we've done that for the civilian population as well. If we take a look at some of the very accessible sites that we have created on the web, stopransomware.gov, CISA.gov, some of the very simple measures that people can take, whether it's multi-factor authentication, backing up one's systems, using safe and secure passwords. These are the things that we need to do and continue to do. And the more that we can amplify collectively, we in the government, in Congress, the imperative of maintaining cyber hygiene, raising the alertness of the average citizen to the imperative, especially in an increasingly interconnected world, I think that is one critical goal.
I would offer, it would be useful if we had a list of specific things, your asks, right? We all want to prevent these cyber attacks. I think cyber issues are very bipartisan in this Congress and have been, and hopefully will be in the future Congress. So please be assertive with what you need in order to protect the American people, because they feel like they don't know what is defending them. Secondly, Director Wray, I was heartened to hear your story of calling all the families of fallen law enforcement that have been killed over the past year or time that you've been in service. I am very worried, just coming out of campaign season, the number of people who think that the FBI is a political tool, as we heard even raised in questions here today. Can you please talk to the American people about the FBI and explain in your words why they should trust their federal law enforcement?
So there are a lot of opinions out there about the FBI, just like there are about everything. But in my opinion, the window that I get to see into our workforce is unique. And I have visited all 56 of our field offices at least twice. I've spoken with law enforcement from all 50 states on countless occasions. I've met with judges, prosecutors, community leaders, victims and their families. And the FBI that I see every single day and that I hear about from all of them is an FBI that does the right thing in the right way, with rigor, with professionalism, with objectivity, with skill. And I will stack our workforce up against anywhere in the world, anytime. And the Americans should have deep confidence in those people. And I will add that when it comes to perceptions of the FBI, that the number of Americans all across this country applying to be special agents in the FBI has been going up significantly over the past 3 years. At a time when, as I hear all the time, law enforcement all over this country is having the opposite experience. And I think that speaks very well of Americans in every state represented on this committee.
Thank you. Yield back.